Hello everyone and welcome back to another market review. This is Silent. Today we're looking at the NASDAQ December contract for 2025. We're starting off with a weekly chart. Again, this is our weekly candle and we're staying inside that graded price range that we've been looking at from the weekly wick. We ended up closing today just below the upper quadrant of that range. So we're still progressing through and attempting a run on new all-time highs, but as you'll see in the lower time frames, we're kind of just consolidating this week, and it is not really looking too hot for a strong delivery upside, but I'm not going to count it out just because we're so close. As you'll see on the lower time frames, we are consolidating, but we're setting up a potential for a run on that new all-time high. Alright, so we're dropping down to the daily chart, and we're seeing that buy-side imbalance through into the rest of the week, and again, this low of the buy-side imbalance I'm measuring from the close on Friday. Today we opened up with a gap lower, so we colored just outside of that buy-side imbalance, and we dug a little bit into the daily wick. We didn't quite make it to the constant encroachment, but that's showing a little bit of strength there. We respected the upper quadrant and started overlapping that old daily sell-side imbalance to the upside after we used the low of it as a springboard. Pretty much all it did was get a run below the low of this candle and dig into this range and deliver to the upside. After we began trading above the open again and accepted back into this range of buy-side imbalance here, we started that reclaiming effect, and it just stair-stepped its way all the way up into the previous day's opening price, and we closed just below that today. So I'm going to be looking for a run on the all-time highs, but I'm not going to force it. So I'll be expecting a bullish bias for a strong delivery to the upside. If anything, we could draw back down into the high of this and the high of this, but I would prefer if the upper 25% of this range is respected, and same with this candle. So those levels nest just about here, so if anything, we'll open the day and then drop down and then rally up as a classic buy day for a strong close in the week and deliver on a new high. On the 4-hour chart, we are extending that sell-side imbalance through. This was where we dropped into yesterday, and we got our turning point from the low. We opened up and traded down into that daily wick 25%, rallied up and consolidated. Going into New York, we dropped down and then had a reversal off the same level, so it's just clearing out the traders who placed their stop loss just on the daily open. We rally up through and have a reclaiming effect of this buy-side imbalance on the 4-hour chart. See, we close here inside that range, and the only thing that happens is we dip down and into these down close candles, treat it as a bullish order block, and price trades above the opening price again and launches higher, redelivering over this range entirely and the second buy-side imbalance as well. So if you extend that out in time, you can see the low of this candle matches up pretty nicely with that. We closed the afternoon with a doji candle, so we trade down and then up. I'm watching this candle to see if we need to trade lower once to get a down close candle body inside this range, and then utilize that as a cleaner price delivery range to get a launch into highs in New York. If we end up trading below this wick constant encroachment and trading it as a premium array going into London, and there's no real excited push to get up above this range of the overnight, I'll be looking to fade this move and potentially see a run back down to the 4-hour buy-side bounce low and just settle in as kind of a choppy week, and then resume that expansion expectation for Monday. On the hourly time frame, all I've done is bring down our higher time frame levels from the 4-hour and the daily, and I've added our midnight opening price, as well as we're delineating price with these vertical lines at midnight. So we're separating our days. This is our open for the new week. We dropped below that yesterday, came back above, and then ended up respecting that daily wick upper quadrant in this drop here, and then did a reversal really strongly just before the lunch, headed up through that 4-hour buy-side imbalance and started chopping its way up through that range, and then had a blow off top style move outside of it and colored in some of this buy-side liquidity and chopped around for the rest of the day. We closed pretty bullish, so if anything, I'll be expecting a drop down to that 4-hour buy-side imbalance high and a run on buy-side liquidity there's no real strength, again, just move to the sidelines and be okay with a consolidation to end the week. On the 15-minute time frame, we're adding our liquidity levels from the previous days. I've got Asia range marked out. Notice how we created our Asia range on Tuesday, and yesterday it was lower, and that's what gave us a really nice drop. But today we've come off of the low, set in our Asia range here, and started respecting that buy-side imbalance from Wednesday, which lines up with the upper quadrant of our daily wick. We run down below that Sunday open low there again today, and then reverse strongly above the new week open gap from October 6th and create a inefficiency through the current new week opening gap. We remain strong above the new week opening gap and reaccumulated with that sell side imbalance from Wednesday here, and drew all the way back up into that Monday buy side imbalance, our Friday sell side imbalance from 2 Fridays ago, and I've refined this range with the imbalance from Wednesday. So instead of carrying this array through from Monday, I'm looking at the one on Wednesday because this was created over top of that Monday array. We ended up closing in there. It's looking really choppy so far, so I'm not really expecting much until New York tomorrow. Again, we get a closer look at our daily profile. We had our run up in Asia after dropping down. This is very reminiscent of how the Sunday opened. We came down below that new day opening gap and rallied above. We dropped back down into midnight opening price and the Wednesday SIBI lower quadrant. Consolidated here, dropped down and respected the upper half. We rallied through with the imbalance and just tapped into it once here, and then all of this work in this drop here is done with the wick and the rejection blocks there. We finally get a rally into our Wednesday SIBI and our Wednesday new day opening gap and consolidate going into the end of the day. Alright, we're dropping down to the 1 minute chart. All I've done is transpose those higher time frame levels, and I've added our first presentation fair value gap of the morning and the afternoon. I've extended the first presentation to the opening price of this candle here, this doji, because it's an indecisive candle and the inefficiency is completely here and there's no bodies in this range, so I've extended it higher. We rally up initially after it's created and then drop into that range. We rally higher and then chop our way down into midnight open, rally up, and then it's very choppy all throughout the day, but grinding higher going to that Wednesday sell-side imbalance. We drop down as we open on the afternoon and then create an imbalance here for our first presentation fair value gap, and it drops only down into it with a wick and rallies above that previous wick high, so it's leaving this open as a breakaway gap until its drawn liquidity is fulfilled, and then finally it comes down, redelivers that range, and settles off of that low. Alright, so that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you learned something. It was very challenging today with all this choppiness back and forth, so hopefully you can study this price action and learn from it. It was not our typical one-shot day. It was very up and down and sideways through a lot of our key times of the day. Alright, so that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you learned something. If you found anything insightful, let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you all tomorrow.